Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Just taking a moment to take people in, and we're going to start meeting together just by finding our seat, and we'll sit for 12 minutes just to find our place. And you may want to maybe just make sure you kind of take the people in who are here. Just let yourself, in the open spaciousness of your own room, be aware that there are people here, hearts and minds and bodies, joining with you. So let's just sit for 12 minutes. So please join me as we say the verse of the robe. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Just wanted to thank you all for being here, for your practice that brings you here. And the sense I have of how we knit something together, even though our threads are in really different places. There's something that happens when we come together with care and intention to sit together. So just feeling really grateful for that. My cat apparently wants to join in with the talk, so you may hear some scratching at the door. And I was thinking about how we might be using this time to sit together in what are these, ongoingly difficult and tumultuous times. And last week, Flint talked about how our practice supports us to acknowledge and maybe even every now and again, cherish or welcome against our biological driven need for certainty, to find ways to acknowledge that everything changes and that life is always in flux. And right now, clearly a huge amount of flux all over the world. I've just been WhatsApping with a friend who is stranded in India. I was thinking about the ripples of the impact of what goes on, and she was due to fly home through Doha, and of course the airspace is completely closed down, and she can't fly home, and she's been stuck there for nearly a month now, or however long it is, 3 weeks. And someone else whose trip to see their beloved children in New Zealand is cancelled. And those are non-difficult problems in the sense of they're not in danger, but impactful in their own lives. So I'm kind of thinking about that a lot, the ripples that happen from our intention and our actions. And I've been using other people's poetry and some of my own writing to help me navigate, our kind of world as it seems to become even more divided and dangerous, and the future looking less even predictable than maybe usual. It's never predictable, but we like to think it is a bit, don't we? And so these are some words from over 1,000 years ago, which some of you I'm sure will know. The nation is shattered, mountains and rivers remain. Written by Dufu in 757. The nation is shattered, mountains and rivers remain. And in more recent conflicts, Anna Akhmatova, a Russian poet, wrote in 1921. So in the middle of terrible loss and deprivation. Everything is plundered, betrayed, sold. Death's great black wing scrapes the air, misery gnaws to the bone. Why do we then not despair? By day, from the surrounding woods, Cherries blow summer into town. At night the deep transparent skies glitter with new galaxies, and the miraculous comes so close to the ruined, dirty houses. Something not known to anyone at all, but wild in our breast for centuries. And the miraculous comes so close to the ruined, dirty houses. Something not known to anyone at all, but wild in our breasts for centuries. And then even more recently from Adrienne Rich, I'm sure again, words that many of us will know. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. And here we are in all our different sanghas, in all our different places, across the land and the sea, adding our weight to those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Did you know you were doing that? Did you know you were doing that in your quiet sitting, and joining others with intention and kindness, reconstituting the world? And our practice is, a constant reminder that that's our work. That's what we're doing. And I think one of the reasons that, especially something like that little flow of poems, speak to me is because they demonstrate, though all is change, there is nothing new in the world. Countless generations have seen their land, their lives, their cultures torn up by the poisons, by greed, by hate, by ignorance, just as we see now. And I've thought for quite a long time now that looking away is the privilege of those who can, as obviously many can't. And our ignorance, that quality of turning away, runs very deep in us as people. In person-centered counselling, in the theory of how we manage our chaotic, difficult lives, is we often talked about denial, distortion and minimization as the kind of human responses to how we manage these situations. It's not happening, and if it is happening, it's not quite like that, and if it is happening quite like that, it's only little. It's kind of like we can use all of them, denial, distortion and minimization, to manage our lives. And there's been a recent film called The Zone of Interest, and it's such a shocking example of distortion, denial and minimization, where it portrays the idyllic lives of the Auschwitz commander Rudolf Höss and his family as they go about their mundane business right next to Auschwitz. Where they can hear the transports arriving, they can hear the sounds of the people in distress, they can smell the incinerators, they can smell the bodies, and they're having a lovely time. They're having a lovely time. And, not just the extremity of that situation, but I think we all know, we've all walked past homeless people. We've all ignored somebody shouting at their child really violently in the street. We've all seen someone being bullied or oppressed on a train or a bus. I know who is mining the precious things that fill my phone, allow me to do this. I know that. We know the cost of our lifestyle on others, and we turn away a lot of the time. And I really, really don't want to have that as a place of shame, because shame just paralyzes us. It's something that we all do. It's something we've all learned to do. And it's something that we all do to greater or lesser extents in lots of our lives. And if we try to pay attention to all of the consequences, all of the ripples, most of us can't choose to go and live off-grid, which is a fantasy anyway. And we don't want to get paralyzed by the size of what we're complicit and implicit in. So my question kind of comes to me is, how in all of this, how do we be in this? How do we turn towards as much as we can? And like the monks who walked, and Peg said in a recent email, the place we start is here. The place we start with not turning away is here. Where are we in the world? And I was reading something that Roshi Joan Halifax said the other day, and she used a phrase that's really been echoing in me: the measure of our humanity. How do we take the measure of our humanity? Not the measure of our sanctity or our, our sacredness, or but the measure of our humanity. And she said, the measure of our humanity, we will discover, is not found in isolation, but in relationship, like this just turning up on a Tuesday. This, not in dominance, but in solidarity, not in what we possess, but in how we care. May we actualize this with and through each other. So the measure of our humanity is this: opening to each other, turning towards each other and ourselves. Rebecca Solnit talks about our individual and collective needs for a saviour, the one who'll come and save us, save us from, and we have, I'm a great lover, and one of my quirks is I'm a great lover of apocalyptic films. I find it very disconcerting that we're usually saved by one person who goes against everyone's advice and, does the thing. And I think, well, less and less, that's not true. It's not true. And one of my favourite cartoons, which is made of 3 frames, and in the first frame it shows a room with a whole lot of sheep failing to have a party. They're kind of looking, it's a cartoon, they're allowed to fail at having a party. So they're having a party, but they're kind of all looking kind of a bit glum and not very partyish at all. And in the second frame there's a knock at the door, and in the third frame the door opens and the sheep all declare, oh, thank God it's the sheepdog. I just love that cartoon, because it's like, we're waiting, aren't we? Where's the sheepdog when you need it? And, we long for direction, we long for people, someone who's going to know what to do. And of course, in modern politics, we're sold people who tell us what they're going to do. And we like that, many of us like that. Bessa van der Kolk, who's a specialist in trauma, said in trauma we seek certainty. And certainty often looks like answers. And certainty also often looks like someone else with their choice and their perceived capacity. Like someone's going to fix this mess. And being present to ourselves and others, in our unfurling world means we actually have to tolerate uncertainty and not knowing, and that we aren't separate from the whole kind of marvellous calamity. There isn't someone who's going to come and save us all. And I've been reading about the extraordinary response in Minneapolis, which was made up of lots of small groups, not a huge leader, but lots of people doing small, important things, greeting people as they come out the Whipple building with a phone and a smile and friendliness and a blanket. you know, and none of that is like a world domination movement, but it mattered to every one of those individuals who came out, and it mattered to be able to do that thing. And when we stop waiting for a hero, either one to arrive or us to become one, then we can start to really appreciate how we reach out and touch what's ours to connect with, what really matters. Rebecca Solnit says, I often think one of the great weaknesses of our era is that we get lone superhero movies over and over that suggest that our big problems are solved by muscly guys in spandex whose superpower is the ability to inflict and endure extraordinary violence. When what this world actually mostly gets changed by is collective effort. And she said a huge amount of the important work, I was thinking about this when I woke in the middle of the night, is done by nice ladies. No spandex. It's done by nice ladies. And I think of a lot of people with platforms and a lot of people on the left want social change to look like the French Revolution or Che Guevara or something like that. And so the fact that nice ladies actually change the world, maybe it's about the fact that changing the world is more like caregiving than it is like war. And I saw, I love Calvin and Hobbes. You're getting a sense of my tastes. And there's a recent one where Hobbes says to Calvin, how can we play war games, not peace games? And Calvin says, not enough role models. Not enough role models. So I love the idea that, let's be nice people and be role models for peace games in our very small way. And I thought about how my original idea about enlightenment was so like a superhero, like kapow, get magic powers, enlighten forever. And it kind of isn't that, is it? It's when we sit with ourselves and our friends and it's, a small smile or a tender remembrance of a difficulty or a celebration of a long for achievement that we celebrate together. It's caring and it's connection. So Roshi Jones says, Buddhist precepts are not abstract ideals, but guides for how we meet the world, shaping how we speak, act and respond to suffering. Again and again they return us to the heart of practice, caring for one another and for this fragile world with clarity, courage and compassion. And in a longer article that Rebecca Solnit was talking about where we are at the moment, the writer said, Rebecca Solnit has a method for sustaining it, holding the longer arc of history, reading the backlash as evidence of how much ground has actually been won, and insisting we are more powerful than we feel. And that's a lot like how religious communities have carried hope across generations of suffering. They hold the longer story when the present moment is too dark to bear. We have 2,500 years of the arc of how we end suffering, how we enter and entertain and turn towards suffering. That's our long arc. That's here to support us. So there's a song by Lucinda Williams that I love, and probably a lot of you know, it's have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. Have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. What seems like conceit is always a sign of things no eyes have seen. You may not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone. We don't know what's going on in other people. We don't often know what's going on with ourselves. But can we have compassion for everyone we meet, even if they don't want it? Have compassion for ourselves even when we don't want it. So thinking about all of this was a phrase from Roshi Joan. She said, feel the anguish and act from love. So this was my response, to feel the anguish and act from love. Light a candle. Light a candle for all those children who started their day thinking that their whole lives were ahead of them, not knowing that this day was their whole life. Light a candle for all the parents whose lives now lay in equal ruin. Light a candle for all those whose fingers were on the triggers, guiding the drones, flying the planes, whose sole mission was destruction. Plant a seed for all the orchards and fields torn and desecrated by hatred. Plant a seed for those who think running tanks over the land a sign of victory. Sing a song for all the voices stilled in death or fear. Sing a song for all those whose voices shouting or murmuring their divisiveness and righteousness. Smile at a neighbour for all those whose neighbourhoods have become deadly. Smile at a neighbour for all those, once friends, who themselves have become the enemy. Dance in the rain for all those for whom rain has become a toxic terror, or for those for whom rain arrives too much or too little as our world burns. Dance in the rain for those who think profit more important than future. Light a candle for yourself, for your own tender heart, and all your goodness and your harms. Light a candle, sing, dance, find joy. Let us find our tender way forward as we feel the anguish and act from love. Sitting with you all is part of how I feel the anguish and act from love. And I'd love to know how you're doing in this, how you're doing with anything. So thank you for being here. Hi, Catherine.
I was noticing that listening to you and being with everyone allowed me to feel the anguish and see that beneath the ranting about the actions of America and Israel and everything else is what I really feel is grief.
Yeah. And we should never grieve alone.
No. And I've been thinking a lot about Sheffield, which is a city of sanctuary, and noticing how in America cities of sanctuary are targeted, and thinking, I'd had the thought, well, I wouldn't dare go and stand in the middle of a mob and stand by somebody. And then, because I think it could happen to us, I think everything's there the conditions are there that could create a Minnesota here.
Yep.
And I took great hope and strength from the singing groups in Minnesota. And it was middle-aged women who looked remarkably like me. And they weren't standing in the front line. It would have been foolish to stand in the front line, but they were singing.
Yeah.
And I, I couldn't ever hear that without crying.
No,
Just it's what you're saying, to do what to do what you can do, and you don't know, you can never know the ripple or the impact.
absolutely not. And it's like our sitting practice, isn't it? If we can offer what we offer with no gaining idea, you know, the this is what we can do. This is it. And like our sitting, I don't know, but it's what I can do. I can turn up here. I can turn up with my friends. I can try and not turn away as much as I can bear. Make sure I keep turning back. And don't grieve alone.
Found it very helpful.
Mm.
Thank you.
Mm. And I was just thinking, I know how much you've done to support refugees, and I have a pair of fine lamps in my workroom that you sold, raising funds. Done what you can.
Yes, and they come from Iran. Those, though they're Afghan, they come from Iran. And just listening to Habib's wife talk about how hard it is to have family in Iran,
Yeah,
how terrifying. Yeah,
yeah. The world is a scary place.
yes, yeah, yeah. And we're all in it together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As always, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mm. Hi, Joel.
Trudy. I'm sorry. Give me a moment.
Sure.
Can you hear me at all?
I can hear you, and I
Oh,
can.
okay, good.
Great.
I'm on my phone and I'm confused by what the little symbols mean in the little corner here. Even though I
Oh,
have my new glasses,
ah,
I'm still having a little trouble seeing.
great.
Pardon me for that. I'm so
Is there
moved.
any way you can just tilt your phone so I can see your face? Because at the moment I have a gorgeous view. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, good. Yes, you were missing significant parts. Sorry.
I was missing you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I so appreciate this talk, and if you can share the sources for the poems you read, I would love to. I haven't read any Adrienne Rich in 40
Ah,
years, so
yeah,
thank you so much for that reminder.
yeah.
Um, and particularly the last poem about lighting a candle for this and that. That was very moving.
Mm,
I wanted to share. I've been reading um, lots of quotations from Suzuki Roshi recently. And there's a book, Zen is Right Now, one of the more recent collections of his sayings. And this one is one that I've been carrying around with me. It is just two sentences. Uh, Don't kill is a dead precept.
mm.
Excuse me is an actual working precept.
Oh,
And I think that speaks to what you're saying. What can we do to turn toward what we can do
yeah,
in the acknowledgement that it, it's what we can do?
it's what and how to have it living in us.
Mhm.
Not the shoulds and the coulds and the oughts and the couldas and the would. Something about what can I actually offer the world right now,
Mm.
and what can I do to manage any violence in me, or to acknowledge harms I've caused, or
Mm.
just where this is my little area This is my little patch I contend. What can I offer?
Right. And you spoke of the way in which we are embedded in systems which implicate us in all the harms that are happening. Everyone.
Yeah.
And absolutely. And that, it's not like we can go live off the grid and extricate ourselves that way.
No.
But we can turn toward each other.
Absolutely. With kindness and curiosity. And I love that Lucinda Williams song, is like, offer compassion to everyone you meet, even if they don't want it.
Mm.
Because who knows what's going on.
I met Lucinda Williams in Houston in about 1970.
Oh,
She was appearing at a small club, and I got to say hello. So, yeah,
how gorgeous. And she's still doing amazing things.
amazing. Yeah.
So thank
Thank you,
you.
Trudy.
Thank you. Jill. There you are.
Here I am. Thank you, Trudy. Oh, thank you so much for that. I really, really, really appreciate it, and for taking me out of my self-centered dream. I have had a day of being totally caught in my self-centered, just very involved in my own. It is totally a self-centered dream.
Our dramas are incredibly seductive.
Oh, it's really seductive, and it's very, just keeps me stuck in my suffering, and had some awareness that it was happening and trying to pull myself out and go and do something else. Yeah. And I think
and you did this,
and I did this, and I think there's, for me, sometimes it's hard to find a balance between bearing witness and staying with, and bearing witness and turning towards, and it not sliding into hopelessness. And it can feel like I'm treading on a tightrope, or a narrow beam that gymnastics walk along, of bearing witness and being wholeheartedly present.
So I have a suggestion.
Thank you. I was hoping you would.
My suggestion is drop the delusion there's a balance. It's not going to happen.
No.
But we can make the path wider. That's the bit, is like, make our hearts bigger to hold something more. But it also means we feel it more.
Yeah. Just got that image now of walking through a valley between, and Flint's spoken about it many times, between hope and despair, and being able to see it all, and feel
it's like
it opening.
It's like it's a valley, if we turn it into a tightrope, we're just going to keep falling off. But if we think, sometimes I'll really be leaning on this side, and sometimes I'll be leaning on this side, but with my friends, we can walk a little more down the valley.
Thank you for the reminder.
Me too, it's like, I'm off my head if I'm not doing this stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hmm. Hmm. Cass.
Thanks, Trudy. I think I choose the tightrope and not the wide road. And I struggle with accepting but not condoning actions.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really tricky one.
This last hour with you has been so eye-opening and so connective.
Hmm.
Really grateful.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like so first of all, I had this image of you putting your tightrope on the ground, so you're not, you can keep walking your rope, honey, but put it on the ground.
Okay. If you're somebody who attunes with judging mind so much, I'm really amazed at how fast I can go there.
Hmm.
And
And how, yeah,
I,
and how much you notice it hurts you though now.
oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I'm close to being able to verbalize this, but I'm not there yet. Um, yeah, now just lost in a sea of not words. Um,
Interpretive dance?
interpretive dance might be more like, um,
Yeah.
hmm, I'm worried about wasting time now. Um,
There's no cue. Stay with it.
I'm really harsh to myself when my aspirations don't line up with my actions.
And there's a wholesomeness in noticing, but there's not the wholesomeness in being harsh.
Right.
We all, honestly, um, I can't. I was having a conversation with someone and talking about the gap, the inevitable gap, because, beings are numberless, we're going to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible, we're going to end them. Done that yet? I've done it like
Uh,
tea time.
I've started.
Yeah. So it's like, how do we hold those aspirations as that kind of useful compass point that tells us when we're off, you
Yeah.
know? but not as just another stick to beat ourselves with, because it's like all of us, all of us.
Right. And how to offer kindness to someone I view as an aggressor.
Yeah.
So I've already made the judging mind part. Um, and then I get pretty stuck on that. But like what actually does turn the wheel? What and it's
Don't
not
say it like, yeah,
participating.
yeah, yeah. It's like you know what makes a difference. And it's hard to do.
And pretending the wheel's not there doesn't work.
No,
Like tried that.
no. So how do we be with the anguish
Yeah.
and with an open heart too, as much as we can?
Had had a dream this couple of weeks ago of being in Central Park and amongst all the buildings with an active shooter and running and hiding
Mm.
and running across bags of storehouses of guns and seeing people shot. Um, and so then played that game that Flint always does of what are you in all of these situations? Imagine yourself as each one of these.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe it's just a dream of things changing.
Yeah, and how do we confront the violence in ourselves? How do we have the
Hmm.
parts of us that would, love to take down the people we think are causing such harm?
Right.
Where's all our violence stored up?
Hmm.
Where are we running and hiding?
Right. And to be all the parts.
Yeah, and yeah, because we are.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of Lucinda Williams. I don't want to take away from any other wisdom there, but
No, no.
Car
Play
Wheels on
that.
the Gravel Road. I've seen her at Antone's many times. I've photographed her.
I play that song on repeat in my head when I'm struggling a lot with that, you know, my judging mind, or my disbelief at people's stupidity.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. I kind of get really tangled with, how can we be so stupid?
Right.
Um, that we,
And the comic book heroes that are validating violence with righteousness.
yeah,
That's, ooh,
yeah,
that's so ingrained in me. And I love those movies. It's just like, wow.
yeah, yeah.
So
We've
that
been
was a
sold.
big, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say we've been sold a great story.
Mm.
Most radical thing we do is sit on our cushion and do nothing.
Show up for each other.
Yep.
Thanks.
And you, yeah, and you do.
Thanks.
Mm. That's what touches me, showing up for each other. Even when the welcome sign says you're going to the wrong thing, we still show up for each other. It's not the wrong thing, we're in the right place. Join me. So, saying the 4 practice principles. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way.